The truth occurs.
Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. Let's talk a little bit about the riots in France and what is the real reason for why this is happening. Is it just about gas prices? There are a couple of reasons that aren't getting a ton of media coverage. Before I start this video, I'd like to say thank you for subscribing and don't forget to bell me, and thank you for your support on Patreon. So France has been having riots. The protests started on November 17th, have turned violent and have left over 100 people dead. Officially, the reason is the increase in taxes on gas. But some people say there's more to the story. First of all, let's look at this from icegenow.info. The media is ignoring the real cause of the French riots. Well, according to this blog, they say it's not really about a tax on gas per se. It's about the fact that this tax is supposed to be to fight climate change. As they mention here, the Western media had been ignoring this aspect. The Wall Street Journal had described them as a protest against a fuel tax increase. ABC had failed to mention it was meant to fight climate change. And NBC also left this out. But it's true. It's not just about gas tax, it's about climate change tax, which really doesn't sit well with people. According to Forbes, Paris is burning over climate change taxes. Is America next? So they mention here clearly the cause of their ire is a scheduled 25 cents per gallon increase in gas taxes and about 10 cents on diesel to fight climate change. If Paris streets burned over proposed 25 cents per gallon climate change tax, imagine the global conflagration over a $49 per gallon tax. That's what a United Nations special climate report calls for in 12 years, with a carbon tax of $5,500 per ton, equal to $49 per gallon of gasoline or diesel. That's about 100 times today's average state and federal motor fuels tax. Apparently they want to really lay on the climate tax. This doesn't sit well with a lot of people because, first of all, nobody likes to pay a lot of taxes. And second, who really knows what's causing climate change? Pollution's a real problem, but if you're gonna be taxing people carbon taxes, which personally I'm not on board either, does it really make sense to focus on a little country like France? How many emissions are they really putting out? Meanwhile, countries like China and India are completely unregulated. So what difference is it going to make? Okay, but that's only part of the picture. There's more to it. According to the Federalist, the riots in France aren't just about gas taxes, but about the West's decline. Well, to sum it up, there's a lot more going on than just the gas tax. France is having a lot of economic problems. Unemployment is high. They're in a lot of debt. They also received a lot of refugees that they're having trouble assimilating. A lot of those people are uneducated, unemployed, and pretty much unemployable. Now here's something interesting. Like the rest of the developed world, the French are having fewer children and compensate for the population loss by taking in more immigrants. Consequently, the Parisian slums keep expanding while French villages gradually disappear. See, that's a problem because the world has been told, have less children, it's better for you. But actually, if you don't have enough children, it's horrible for the economy. What can you do? Well, you can bring in immigrants. Of course. I mean, if you bring in people who are qualified to do the work where there's a labor shortage, good for your country. But if you bring in a lot of people that are not equipped, it doesn't solve the problem. The lucky few French workers who actually have a job labor under heavier tax burdens and can afford little. Middle-class families are lucky if they own a small apartment, an economy car, and a set of cheaper clothes from China. The luxury products sold on the Champs-Élysées and elsewhere are mainly for the rich. So people in France are becoming poorer and poorer, and they're also feeling like they're turning into a welfare state, having to support people who need a lot of help, aren't putting into the economy yet. And then the government wants to lay on a tax to fight climate change. I can understand why they're upset. And there's another thing. There are a lot of things that the French are not happy with, and the mandatory vaccines is one of them. France makes 11 child vaccines compulsory. No vaccines, no school. Earlier this year, the French government decided that to combat the anti-vax movement and the increase in measles, they needed to make vaccines compulsory. Now, you remember what happened when they did this in California. Only just one state in America And that was a really big deal. A lot of people were not happy. Now imagine in France, it's the whole country. People don't have a choice. If they want to send their child to school, the child has to have all the shots that the government decides. So this is just one more reason why things are coming to a boiling point. So to sum it up, it's not just about a gas tax, it's about so much more. France is having a lot of economic and social problems. They're not happy with the politics. They're not happy with how their country is being run. And you know, the French are the kind of people who just don't take things lying down. I've seen this happen before. A few years ago when the government wanted to implement a law that would make it legal for any employer to fire any employee under the age of 26 without giving any reason, when they tried to do that, riots. And you know what happened? They had to repeal this. So the French have a history of rioting like crazy when they don't like the way things go, and they push so hard that the government ends up having to concede. So it's worked for them in the past, and they're probably thinking it's going to work now. Maybe it'll work for the carbon tax, but they have a lot of work to do in all those other areas. France is really in transition, and I guess they're going through a really hard time. But I want to let you know, this is some of what's really going on behind the riots in France. It's not just about carbon tax, and the media hasn't really been touching on this so much, so I thought you might want to know. So let me know what you think. Thank you for liking this video. Thanks for your support. Thank you for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.